What is going on, everyone? We're live for a little Saturday night action. Going through, working on my lineups, talking to you guys, answering some start, sit questions. We got a ton of injuries this week, especially in the tight end position. Um, I mean, the number of tight ends that are out this week, I'm just going to go ahead and say it's absurd, is what we're going with. George Kittle's out. Evan Ingram's out. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Um, Hopefully, everyone's doing good tonight. Let's jump into some lineups. I'm not pulling them up on the screen today. I'm actually just going to sort through them here on my phone as we're going through it. That way, I don't miss any of your guys' questions. So let's jump into it. We're going to look at my 0 RB team. We got Pat Mahomes, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens. Oh, hold on. Let me change this. Right now, Jerome Ford, Ramondre Stevenson had a rough go at it this week, to say the least, as he had six attempts for 23 yards and a fumble. Got me 0.3 points. So we're starting off pretty bad so far. Sam Laporta, Mason. We're still rolling with Jordan Mason right now, guys. Deebo Samuel is out this week. If you got Brandon Ayuk, definitely get him in there. Um, Juwan Jennings is expected to be starting this week. So that's someone, especially in your DFS lineups, that you can get in there. But Brandon Ayuk, expect a decent amount out of him. There is no George Kittle this week as well. Could be a big week for Jordan Mason. So let's make sure we get Jordan Mason in our lineup. I'm still not excited about Christian Watson with Malik Willis possibly playing. I'm not sure where we're sitting at with Jordan Love right now. Let's take a look and see what's the latest on Mr. Love. See if we got any updated information on him. He is still listed as questionable. Packers are still planning on starting Malik Willis this week against the Titans. So, still not excited about any receivers there in Green Bay. Josh Jacobs, though, they showed last week what they're going to do without Malik Willis, right? Or with Malik Willis, without Jordan Love. They're going to run the ball. They're going to run it, run it, run it. And when they're done running it, they're going to run it again. So if you have Josh Jacobs, he is a definite must start this week with Jordan Love still being out. Justin Fields looks like he's going to be going. They're preparing for him to start again this week. At this point in time, when are we going to see Russ? Who knows? Um, Fields hasn't been. He hasn't been great, but he hasn't been awful, right? As far as the Steelers are concerned, they got a pretty tough matchup this week with the Chargers. But the thing with the Chargers is right now is you don't know if Justin Herbert's going to play. So if you have Justin Herbert as your starter, make sure you got someone good on your bench. I just had a league where I had to go and pick up somebody, and you Baker Mayfield is still out there in a lot of your leagues. Let's just kind of take a look at who our top quarterbacks are that are still out there and still available in a lot of your leagues. Again, I'm looking at rostered percentage over on Yahoo. And let's see here. No, I don't want. I don't want that. I want our season total. Give me a second, guys. I'm just trying to season total. There we go. And let's sort it this way. All right. Geno Smith is still out there in 58% of leagues playing Miami this week. He's definitely a good option to go out there and pick up if you have Justin Herbert, not knowing if Herbert's going to play. Sam Darnold is available in 72% of Yahoo leagues right now. Now, is Justin Jefferson going to play? Seems kind of like a game time decision type thing. So unsure on the stats of that, as well as Jordan Addison is still out. Gardner Minshew might not be an awful option this week as they're playing the Panthers, and the Panthers have just been god awful. I mean, there's no way to put it. They've just been really bad this year. So Daniel Jones, they're playing Cleveland, and Cleveland's just been hot dog dog trash. I mean, that's just all there is to it. So there are some decent options out there for you guys to go ahead and pick up and play quarterback wise. Let me just sort by this, just a couple things. Baker's still out there in 23% of leagues. Not a ton, but he is still out there. Derek Carr is out there in 38% of leagues. He's looked really good so far this year. So those are a few quarterback options that you do have if you do have Justin Herbert and you don't know if he's going to play or if he's not going to play this week. As I just continue to keep looking at these lineups, guys, um, George Pickens, I don't know how I feel about him so far this year. He hasn't been great. He only got us 3.9 points last week in this league. This is a half point PPR Yahoo default league. He got you 10 points week one. Unfortunately, I have Deebo Samuel, who's not going to be playing. Christian Watson, I don't feel good about. Puka's on my IR. So we're going to take a look at the waiver wire and just kind of look and see who's out here wide receiver wise. See if there's someone here that I could pick up. Immediately, I see Khalil Shakir is out there, who has been decent. He got me 11 points week one. Would have gotten eight points week two. Jacksonville is a favorable matchup. The eighth worst team in the league as far as against the pass is concerned. Demarcus Robinson is out here. A tough matchup with the 49ers, though. But, I mean, as far as, Cooper Kupp, no Puka Nakua, it's a pretty decent option. Wan'Dale Robinson hasn't been bad. He only had 2 targets last week. Or I'm sorry, 4 targets, 2 catches. He did get that touchdown. He did get it in the end zone there. So he's had double-digit points. Or no, he's had 8.8 points in this league 2 weeks in a row. Rome Odunze, the injury doesn't have the injury designation, so it looks like he's good to go there. There is no Keenan Allen, but I still don't feel great about the Chicago situation. Their offensive line is hot dog. It's just trash. It's just garbage. Adam Thielen might be a decent option with Andy Dalton come in this week. We'll see. Was it all Bryce Young, or is it that just that team as a whole? I think I'm going to go ahead and pick up Shakir in this league, guys, as I'm looking for, and we're going to go ahead and drop. No, let me go back. Trey Benson hasn't been, he's starting to get more and more of a share there. But with Jerome Ford, Ramondre Stevenson, Jordan Mason, Zamir White hasn't been great this year. 13 attempts for 44 yards. And then last week, 9 attempts for 24 yards, 3 catches for 14 yards on 4 targets. Week one, he had 2 catches on 2 targets for 3 yards. Nothing great. So do I drop Zamir White? Do I drop Trey Benson, who's starting to get, I mean, he hasn't done much, but he's starting to get more and more of the percentage of the carries there. It is a job that I feel like he will be taking over. I also have Aaron Jones on this team as far as running backs are concerned. So I've got a lot of stake in running backs here. We'll go ahead and drop Trey Benson, although he'll probably blow up this week. And we're going to bring in Shakir, and we're going to start Shakir over George Pickens this week. I like that move there. Let's go ahead and take a look at our next team. This is my Hero RB team. I got Jared Goff starting as my quarterback. That's because Justin Herbert we don't know about. I was able to pick up Jordan Love in this league. Someone had dropped him. So I'm rocking 3 quarterbacks right now for some reason. But hey, you do what you got to do. Devontae Adams, of course, we're leaving him in. Drake London. He gets the last minute touchdown last week that kind of salvaged the week, but he had 7 targets this last week, 6 catches, 54 yards. Did get in the end zone, which is up from the 3 targets he had the week before. So we are starting to see a little bit of improvement. I made the decision to stick with him for another week, and that decision that really paid off. Bijan Robinson, of course, we're gonna keep him in. David Montgomery, we're gonna go ahead and keep him in. Keenan Allen's on the bench. We're not playing Keenan Allen this week. He's out. Christian Watson's not going anywhere. I I got Jameson Williams here. So I think the decision is, again, we're looking at running back wise. I got Bijan Robinson, David Montgomery, and Devin A. Chain. Devin A. Chain's going to get he's going to see a ton of carries this week because no Tua and Skylar Thompson he's not that guy. He's just not. So expecting to see a big, heavy carry workload for Devin A. Chain. Kyle Pitts. How'd he do last week? I mean, he didn't do 4 targets, 3 catches, 20 yards. I think Atlanta's still trying to figure things out. We're still sticking with Kyle Pitts. We're not going anywhere on that. The big thing I have to decide is I got Malik Neighbors here. 18 targets, 10 catches, 127 yards, and a touchdown last week against Washington. You really saw them make a big effort. I mean, he had 7 targets week 1, 18 targets week 2. I think I got to work him into my lineup, but it's just a matter of where am I going to work him in. Am I pulling Davante Adams, who has a matchup against Carolina? How's Davante been doing so far this year? Let's just kind of take a look. He had a good week last week. 9 catches, 110 yards, and a TD. Week 1 was a little bit rougher, where he had 5 catches for 59 yards. I don't know where I fit Malik Neighbors in. Do I bench a David Montgomery? I don't think that I do. I think the Lions are going to have a really good game this week. I don't necessarily feel good about benching Drake London. You know what? I'm going to bench Drake London and start Malik Neighbors because of the matchup. Drake London, they're playing Kansas City. Really good against the pass. Malik Neighbors, they're playing Cleveland, really bad against everything. We'll see how that goes. I don't know. I don't necessarily feel great about that. Jameson Williams, he had 5 catches and 79 yards last week. Had another good week. Had a rushing attempt for 15 yards. He saw 11 targets and 5 catches, so the target share is definitely there. Big play potential is there. It's tough. I've got too many good wide receivers. I got Drake London and Jameson Williams sitting on my bench, and I'm rolling with Davante Adams and Malik Neighbors. It's a good problem to have. I think. I think I need to look at possibly trying to trade one of these guys away to try and. I mean, well, my running backs are good with Bijan, Montgomery, and A Chain. I don't know what I do with this team, but we're gonna go ahead and say that lineup is set. Now we go to Legatron, which is where I drafted a kicker and a defense. Automatically, boom, right off the gate, I got to get Debo out, but I got Jameson Williams sitting here that we're going to work him in. Justin Herbert. You don't know. I got Stafford on my bench. I'm not excited about that with no receivers healthy. So we'll take a look and see if maybe there's someone I can go and pick up. Already had Ramondre Stevenson play, and he got me 0.3 points this week. Tight end wise, I'm rolling with Juwan Johnson, who had 0 targets last week. I don't like that. I need to look to see if there's maybe somebody else there. And of course, we got J.K. Dobbins on this team, who is having a phenomenal year. Baltimore defense, they're playing Dallas. I think I'm going to go ahead and keep them in there. Dallas has no run game whatsoever. None whatsoever. Jake Bates, of course, is our kicker. We're going to keep rolling with him. Let's go see if there's any tight ends out there, because that is where we need some help. And a lot of teams need help at tight end this week. There's a lot of tight ends that are hurt, that are out. Is Jake Ferguson knee will play versus Baltimore? He's been removed from the injury report and will play. I like that. Hunter Henry would have been a guy that I really would have liked to have picked up. I mean, he didn't do much this last week, 2 catches for 9 yards, but he's been having himself a great year so far this year. Colby Parkinson might be a guy. He only had 1 catch on 2 targets last week. No Cooper Kupp, no Puka. I don't know. Greg Dulwich, has he done anything? Yeah, no, he hasn't. First time, long time, PPR Superflex. Need a flex. Shaheed or Akers? I'm rolling with Shaheed. He's been hot to start the year. He's a player that we both me and Rapid Dave both like. I love what the Saints are doing so far this year, and you're seeing a lot out of Shaheed so far. And until they show me otherwise, I'm going to keep rolling with them. I'm going to keep rolling. Akers, I know he's starting to see a little bit more of an uptick. Let's kind of just take a look here at Cam Akers real quick, guys. Is Mixon playing? I haven't really. Akers is preparing to start Sunday against the Vikings as Joe Mixon is listed as doubtful. And Damian Pierce has been ruled out. But it is a PPR league. Um, I don't see Cam Akers getting a ton of targets in the pass game. So I think I'm going to roll with Shaheed with it being PPR. The Saints, who are the Saints playing? I say we're playing Rashid. Didn't really look to see who they're playing this week. Playing Philly, a little bit of a tougher matchup, but I mean Shaheed he's 5 targets, 4 targets, 73 yards, 96 yards, a touchdown in both. He had 3 rushing attempts last week. He's a guy that they're really focusing on getting the ball. Mixon's out the next few weeks, yeah. I I'm rolling with Shaheed. I don't think you're going to get a ton of uptick for the PPR format with Akers. Um, he's going to be the starter. He's going to be the guy. Man, let me look at it. Minnesota. Minnesota's pretty good against the run. They're the 25th worst run, or I guess for running backs, right? There's 24 teams better than them against the run, so 25th worst. I think I want to go with Shaheed. I really do. Last week you saw 7 rushes for 32 yards. Tough Chicago defense. 1 catch on 1 target for 3 yards when he came in the limited amount of time he came in. I just don't see the running backs getting a ton of targets in that offense there in Houston. I'm going with Raheed Shaheed. They've been great to start the year. Yeah, they're playing Philly. Philly's a tough matchup, but I mean, we thought the same thing about the last couple weeks, and until they give me a reason to doubt them, I'm rolling with Derek Carr and Rashid Shaheed. Just wanted to be sure. Picked up mixing in the next few teams they got coming. Yeah. I mean, Akers might prove to be pretty good, but I mean, he wasn't anything last year. He worked his way out at the Rams. Injuries. He's just been kind of a guy who hasn't really done much. You know, um, I'm gonna go ahead and roll with Shaheed. More of a known commodity. With Akers, yeah, he might step out and have a big game, but it could be the only one. I just don't see a lot coming from Akers. We haven't seen a lot from him in the last few years. He's on his 3rd team in as many years because of that. So yeah, let's go with Shaheed. Flex Waddle or Rashid White or Jawan Jennings. Man, I don't like Waddle. I love Waddle. Don't get me wrong. I don't like Skylar Thompson. That's what I don't like. Um, Juwan Jennings, he's thrusted into the starting role with Debo out and George Kittle is out. So your top 2 targets are out in that game. Who's Tampa playing this week? Let's see here. Tampa is playing Denver. We didn't see much out of White last week against Detroit. Detroit's defense is much better than Denver's defense. I mean, we didn't see too much out of White in week 1. 15 rushing attempts for 31 yards. 6 catches for 6 yards, or six catches for 75 yards. So if it's a PPR format, you are going to get that uptick there. Um, what is the for sure thing? I don't know. The 49ers will throw the ball, but they are known to run the ball a lot too. Jennings is, again, he's going into that starting role there. Has he done anything so far this year? Let's just kind of take a look and see what we're looking at. I mean, so far in a limited role, week 1 he had 5 catches for 64 yards. Last week he had 4 targets with 2 catches for 37 yards. Um, he has been dealing with an ankle injury. Yeah, I think I'm gonna roll with Rachaad White. Um, Jennings has been dealing with the ankle injury. The 49ers, if all else fails, they're gonna run and pound the ball a lot. That's why I got Jordan Mason. I'm starting him in any leagues that I have him in, with Debo being out and George Kittle being out. So how much are they gonna really focus on the run? Waddle is just kind of, I don't like Skylar Thompson. That's what it boils down to. You don't have the quarterback to get the ball out to them. Um, so I'm kind of putting Waddle on the back burner for right now, until Thompson can show me something. And I don't know that he's going to, honestly, guys. Um, it sucks, because Waddle's a guy that you spend a pretty decent amount of draft capital on to pick up, because he's shown that Miami team shown that they can support 2 top tier wide receivers in Hill and Waddle. And then, but without Tua, we've seen what happens with that offense. It's non-existent. Hot take, but I don't think the 49ers will continue to be good. I think they are this year's Eagles. Okay. Um, we'll see. They still got a good defense. Is CMC going to find his way back? How long is Debo and George Kittle going to be out? George Kittle, I think George Kittle after this year, or maybe even starting this year, is kind of fantasy irrelevant. He's been on the decline for the last couple of years, and that body, I mean, he's just taken a huge toll on that body. And Kittle was a guy that I was avoiding this year in my drafts. I didn't draft him in any for any of my teams because I just don't feel good about George Kittle going forward. Now he's missing some time. I just don't like George Kittle for fantasy anymore. I think he's kind of done. Um, yeah, he'll bust out a game every once in a while. He's more of a boom or bust type guy, but I think you're going to see more bust than you are going to boom from him going forward. Um, Especially because there's just so many other weapons there on that team around him. But yeah, I'm going to go with Rachaad White out of those 3 options. Um, yes, Jawan Jennings is starting, but he has been dealing with an ankle injury all week. Waddle has no quarterback to throw the ball to him. Let's go with Rachaad White. He's shown that he can get a decent amount a decent amount of passes as well, plus the run game. Yeah, let's go with Rachaad White. Let's go ahead and lock that one in uh, for those options. So hopefully that works out for you, man. Let's take a look. I'm still kind of going through some of my lineups, guys. I think this team is all set as I just picked up Jake Ferguson to thank you. I agree. Yeah. It's nice sometimes just to have someone to bounce things off of, right? Um, that's the biggest thing that we're gonna give you here, you know? Yeah, we got a lot of experience, play a lot of games, won a lot of championships, all that fun stuff, but sometimes you just need someone to talk to and bounce some things off of and to talk it out, right? I talk a lot of things out on my own and I kind of sound crazy as I'm talking to myself. So, but it's nice to have other people to talk things out with. Ferguson's going to be back this week. Um, he was removed from the injury report, is playing. So Jake Ferguson over Jawan, tight end Jennings from the Saints, who didn't do anything last week in a high offensive um, output last week. Jennings was non-existent. Um, I do like Jake Ferguson. I'm 0-2. Need this win this week. Hey, 0-2 is okay. I've gone 0, even 0-3 is all right. You don't freak out. QB, would you get Goff, Daniels, or Baker? Ooh, okay. So I was just talking about Daniels a minute ago because I have in a league I was working on my wide receivers and I ended up going with Malik Neighbors over Drake London this week because of the matchup. The the Giants have. Hold on a second, guys. Let me just make sure I got everything. Daniel Jones. They're playing Cleveland this week. Cleveland's just been dog trash this year. He had a good week last week. Only 178 yards, but he did have 2 touchdowns. 16 to 28 passing for 178 yards. Cleveland is just really, really bad. Um, yeah, you definitely start St. Brown, but I think I'm leaning towards Goff. Um, I think Detroit's just gonna ball out this week. Um, they've had two rough starts. I mean, offensively they were great last week. Jared Goff wasn't so great with the 2 interceptions, but I think that's just a team now. Let me go ahead and throw this out there in case you don't know, as I got my Tigers hat on. I am a Detroit guy. Okay, but I that Detroit offense just has so many offensive weapons. Um, and I think they're just a powder keg ready to explode. Week 1, they didn't do so great. They won a game that they probably should have lost, and then in week 2 they lose a game that they probably should have won. You got a lot of guys looking around saying, "Hey, I can do better. I can do better." St. Brown hasn't been much this year. They're playing Arizona. Arizona is a team that surprised everybody last week just by just kicking the ever loving crap out of St. Louis, which is a team that Detroit offensively kind of struggled against. But I think those offensive struggles are going to be behind them this week. I think we're going to see Detroit of last year. Expecting I'm starting all my guys from Detroit. I'm starting Jared Goff. I'm starting St. Brown. I'm starting Jameson Williams. I'm starting Jameer Gibbs. I'm starting David Montgomery. I'm starting Sam Laporta. If I have any of those guys, I am starting them. I think this is going to be a big offensive game for Detroit where they say, hey, we're back. We're a team that everyone was looking for us to be Super Bowl contenders, and they still are. I mean, they're 1-1, right? They had a huge offensive output last week. I think like over 500 yards in offense. They were 0-6 in the red zone, which is 100% uncharacteristic of this new Detroit team. Last year, they were one of the best, if not the best team in the red zone last year. They always came away with touchdowns. Look for that trend to come back this week. Look for Montgomery to have he's going to have a touchdown. Look for Jameer Gibbs to get the yardage in there, to get the receptions in there. St. Brown's going to start coming through. Jameson Williams is going to be your big play guy. Sam Laporta is going to be your possession receiver. Jared Goff, I think Jared Goff is going to be the guy to go with here. I do like Baker. Don't get me wrong. I like Baker. I think Baker has been having himself a great year so far this year. You're playing in Denver this week. Denver is a little bit of a they're not a great offense. They're kind of a middle of the road offense. Baker's numbers all come from week 1 though, guys. Yeah, he's top 1 or 2 as far as quarterbacks are concerned in fantasy this year, but that's all from that big week 1 where he had 289 yards and 4 touchdowns. Last week he only had 185 yards, a touchdown and an interception. He did have the rushing touchdown as he rushed 5 times for 34 yards with the TD. So he had 2 touchdowns last week. But I think we're kind of somewhere in the middle ground with Baker as far as things go. Um, Now he can bust out for big games because he's got Mike Evans. And if Mike Evans has himself a game, look out. But I think Jared Goff is the play here. I'm going Jared Goff. So hopefully that helps you, UNLV. Hopefully you get get the win. I know, Michael, I know you need the win this week as you're 0-2. I was talking about that a second ago. I had a couple seasons ago, I started off 0-3 and I wasn't panicking. My guys just weren't performing the first few weeks. Then things kind of start to level out. You had some other people that, keep an eye on the waiver wire and the free agency because people are freaking out over the first couple weeks and cutting players that they shouldn't cut. and they're out there for you to go out there and pick up. So just because someone hasn't started off real great, I think just don't panic. If you feel like you drafted yourself a good team and you got some guys that are underperforming, just kind of ride the ship a little bit, okay? Um, but don't panic at 0-2. Don't panic. You're just fine. You're just fine. Um, Last, Zamir White or Brian Robinson at running back. Zamir White, I was talking about him a minute ago. He's been kind of a bust so far this year. You haven't gotten much out of a guy that they were expecting to at the end of last year. They really rode him hard and felt like they were going to get what they were getting out of him. But I mean, uh, week one, 13 attempts for 44 yards, 2 catches for 2 yards. Week two, 9 attempts for 24 yards. Now, here's what we have going for ourselves if we do go with Zamir. He's playing Carolina, and Carolina is bad. He has been trash, but he does have Carolina coming up. And Carolina is the second worst team against the run. So, Brian Robinson, let's take a look at what he's done this so far this year, as well as who they're playing this week. They're playing Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a middle of the road against the run, but you are getting good games out of Brian Robinson. 12 attempts for 40 yards and a touchdown in week one. He had 3 catches to go along with 49 yards. Week two, 17 attempts for 133 yards against the Giants, which is a bad team. I think Cincinnati is definitely a better team. And you got the coach behind him. Yeah. It is tough. Okay. I'll get to your question here in a second, Chandler. So we're debating Zamir White or Brian Robinson. I like the matchup better for Zamir White, um, because again, you are playing a bad team in Carolina. Now, is this going to be a team that rallies around the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, as they get? I have Jerome Ford too. I think if so, is that an option over those two? I dropped Masson after I heard that BS. I like Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford is a guy that I like. I do have him in a few leagues. I think he's had an okay year so far. Nothing great. He is playing the Giants, and the Giants are bad against the run. So, I mean, if the option is between those three, I'm going Jerome Ford over Zamir White and Brian Robinson is where I'm going with this. Um, You didn't have a ton out of Zamir last week. Jacksonville isn't bad against the run. He had 7. He only rushed the ball 7 times, but he had 64 yards, which is more yards than he had in week one, where he had 12 for 44. He did get that touchdown. He had the 6 receptions for 25 yards. You do have a good matchup against the Giants. I'm going to lean forward. Is where I'm going to lean, because I also think with Cleveland, I think they're tired of Watson's crap, so I could see them throwing the ball less. When Chubb comes back soon, does Ford go to the bench? Not right away. Not right away, um, because it's going to take Chubb a little while to get back into the swing of things. And you don't know what you're going to get with Chubb when he does come back. I mean, they basically ripped the man. They basically had his legs ripped off last year. I mean, it was you guys saw that injury. It was bad. Full PPR, Zamir White or London. I like Drake London. Um, I did bench him in one league for Malik Neighbors this week because I like the matchup there. Um, I think you started to see Drake London kind of start to come out a little bit last week. Does have a tough matchup against the Chiefs. So Zamir White does have a better matchup. So we'll talk about that a little bit more here in a second. I do have another question I got to answer up here real quick. But yeah, I think I'm going Jerome Ford over Zamir White and Brian Robinson is kind of where I'm leaning. Trade Carr, Ford, and Robinson for Rams for Stroud. point passing TD, little extra boost to QB2. So you would be trading away Carr, Ford, and Robinson for the Rams defense and Stroud? Clarify that for me real quick, Chandler. I don't know that I trade Carr, Ford, and I mean, you're giving up a lot. And Carr's arguably been the best QB in the league so far this year, which is crazy, right? Do I think that's going to hold up? I don't necessarily think that's going to hold up, but that's what we've gotten so far this year. I don't know that I get and I like Ford. I'm on the record of liking Ford. Robinson's been all right so far this year. I think you're giving up a lot. Um, Rams defense got throttled last week against Arizona. So yeah, I don't know that I make that trade, Chandler. I think I stay away from that one. Let's see here. Did you guys Ford? Okay. We talked about Chubb. All right, here we go. Full PPR. Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit more. Zamir White, Drake London. Last week, let me just pull it up just so that I have it. I was talking about it a little bit earlier with Drake London. Playing Kansas City. Kansas City's tough. But you saw his target share go from 3 targets in week 1 to 7 last week, 6 catches, 54 yards. Now he was salvaged by that last minute touchdown, right? Getting that touchdown in the last minute is kind of what saved the day for him. Man, I think that's a tough choice. Because again, the thing I like about Zamir this week, guys, is he's playing Carolina. And Carolina is real bad. Um, Ramsey, yeah, Michael Ramsey ain't the same. Drake London, Zamir White, Drake London, Zamir White. I think you'll see a little bit more out of Zamir White this week over Drake London. Give me Zamir White over Drake London. Start one, full PPR, Pittman, Dell, Dobbins, or Akers. I love Dobbins. Um, Possibly no Justin Herbert this week, which means they might lean on the run more. Justin Herbert is going to be a game time decision, and if Easton Stick is playing, they're not going to pass the ball a lot, and they're going to lean on J.K. Dobbins. I love J.K. Dobbins. That's who I like out of those. Pittman might be in for a rough year. I was on board of this year saying, hey, guys, we need to pump the brakes on all this AR-15 talk. Anthony Robinson's great. And he's come out and he hasn't been that good this year. Dell, the problem with Dell is there's too many guys. You're in a crowded receiver room. And there's just a lot of places that ball's going to go. Akers, we've kind of seen what he is the last couple of years. I'm not excited about Akers, to be honest. Now I know he's getting the start with Mixon being out and Dameon Pierce is being out as well. But I think the Texans will just throw the ball, which you would think would definitely lean towards Tank Dell. But again, J.K. Dobbins, I think we're seeing a heavy dose of J.K. Dobbins this week. Especially even if Justin Herbert plays, he's going to be a little bit banged up. So they're going to want to take that pressure off of him. So look for J.K. Dobbins. And Harbaugh has shown that Dobbins is his guy. Okay, let's see here. I traded J.K. Dobbins and DJ Moore for uh, who is that there, Jonathan? Jettis and Worthy. I like Xavier Worthy, but who's that first guy? I don't know who that is. I don't like trading away J.K. Dobbins. I don't like DJ Moore. I'm not sold on. Oh, Justin Jefferson. Okay. So you got 4 Justin Jefferson and Xavier Worthy. And is Justin Jefferson supposed to play this week? Here's what I don't like DJ Moore this year. The Bears' offensive line is garbage, and Caleb Williams has no time to get that ball out. So I'm kind of down on that whole Chicago team. Honestly, I was down on them to start the season off with. I do like Justin Jefferson. And I do like Xavier Worthy. I think Worthy starting to, especially now that Hollywood's out for pretty much the entire year, so you don't have Hollywood coming back to try and take away some of those receptions from Worthy. It's just going to be Worthy's your deep threat guy. I like Xavier Worthy. So yeah, get Justin Jefferson and Xavier Worthy. You are giving up J.K. Dobbins, who I do really like, but I'm not big on DJ Moore. So I think you got a pretty good deal there. Yeah, Rams D ain't the same. You're welcome, Smokey. Robinson is the Rams wide receiver. Yeah. I don't I'm kind of down on Stafford right now because no Puka, no Cooper. You got Demarcus Robinson, you got Tyler Robinson. Is it two Robinsons? You got Tutu Atwell, Colby Park. I mean, you just got a bunch of guys. Yeah. Um, get them back. Okay, let's see here. Now that I have Worthy, should I start him over Montgomery in my flex? Not this week. I think David Montgomery's going to have himself a week. He's going to be looking for a little bit of redemption after last week. The whole Lions offense is going to be looking for some redemption this week. I think Montgomery's going to have him without Arnold yeah, without Sam Darnold, the Rams they ain't it. I mean, they got torched last week against Cardinals. No, I like David Montgomery over Xavier Worthy. Um, yeah, give me Montgomery. Now, again, I'm always going to give you guys a disclaimer when I'm giving you information about Detroit. I am a Detroit guy, but Montgomery's just Montgomery's just great. I mean, let's just be honest. He's been awesome in that Detroit offense. It's been one of the best things for him getting away from Chicago. I mean, he got you 15. He's got you 15 points. I mean, in your basic Yahoo leagues, right? He had 11 rushes for 35 yards and a touchdown, 4 receptions for 35 yards. Week 1, 91 yards and a touchdown. He had 1 catch for 2 yards. But yeah, I'm all aboard on David Montgomery this year. Um, he is a guy that I thought going into the draft, I thought everybody was severely underrating David Montgomery. I had Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery both in my top 10 of running backs this year because I feel like they're both going to. I mean, last year they both had they had 900 yards, right? I could see them both doing 1,000 yards. Um, I think you're getting a lot more Gibbs. You're getting a lot more of him in the pass game, plus the run. They're look to be alternating kind of series, going with the hot hand. The one thing that I will say is a little bit of a slight against Montgomery this year versus last year is last year if they got in the red zone on the goal line, they went with David Montgomery. This year is not the case. If it's Gibbs's turn, he will get the goal line carries. He's already seen a couple so far this year in situations where you normally would have saw him pulled out and saw Dave Montgomery come in. But Dave Montgomery is also going to have his chances too. He's got you a touchdown in both weeks. I just think you're going to get more points out of Dave Montgomery than you are Xavier Worthy. Give me Montgomery over Worthy. How's everybody looking tight end wise, guys? We had a lot of tight ends out this week. Hopefully everybody's good, been able to go out there. It has been a down year for tight ends. So with all the tight ends out, I don't think that necessarily is going to hurt you as much as it would in years past, right? In years past, if you had Evan Ingram out, George Kittle out, you were kind of freaking a little bit. But this year they're not really producing much, so you're not having to. I have Brock Bowers, so I'm chilling. There you go, Jonathan. Yeah. I Kyle Pitts is a guy that I got in a lot of leagues. He didn't do much for me last week. I'm hoping to have him do a little bit better this week. I got him in the 13th round. Yeah. Brock Bowers is a guy that you could get late. I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys right now because I know he's still out there in a lot of leagues. Let me just pull it up so I can give you guys the actual information on it. But Hunter Henry's still available in like half your leagues. He didn't do anything this last week, but I mean, he's shown to be able to get a decent amount of the targets there. Um, Pitts, yeah, Tried getting Bowers, just missed on him. Yeah, I have Likely since Kittle's out, and you're fine with Likely then. Yeah, Likely's actually had a better season than Kittle, so I like Likely. Likely is a player that I really like this year. As I keep saying, like, and then I think if you have Derrick Henry, he's a must start this week against that Dallas offense or that Dallas defense, not the offense, the defense. They can't stop the run. I'm expecting a heavy dose of Derrick Henry this week. Derrick, especially the second half. I think the second half he's just going to beat the crap out of that Dallas defense. 1 to 2 touchdowns this week from Derrick Henry. Expecting big things out of Henry this week because Dallas has shown this year that they still don't know how to stop the run. They just can't do it. I like Likely because teams are focusing a lot on Mark Andrews and it's opening up Likely. Likely's getting some red zone targets. Likely is going to be the guy that takes over once Andrews. I mean, he's kind of taken over a little bit now, but I do expect if you do own Mark Andrews, I wouldn't panic about him yet. Because I think things will kind of normalize a little bit with Andrews. Let's see here. Where are we at with Mark Andrews so far this year? I mean, he got you 7 points last week, 4 catches on 5 targets for 51 yards. So he saw a little bit more targets than he did in week 1. What else we got, guys? How are we looking? I got a couple more lineups I need to go through. Let me pull them up so I can start taking a look at these. I'm hoping Chiefs stay true and give me a big game for Pitts. You and me both, Michael. I've got Pitts in more leagues than I care to admit. As I think the first 4 leagues I pulled up, I have Pitts in all 4 of them. This league here is a league where I've got Josh Allen, which I'm just fine with Josh going against Jacksonville. I love Josh Allen. I got Drake London, Devontae Adams, Shamir Gibbs. I got Ramondre Stevenson, who got me a big whopping 0.3 points this week. He did absolutely nothing. Now you got to worry about the refs. Jerome Ford, Justin Herbert. Now this is a super flex league. Get my 2 QBs. I am worried about Justin Herbert this week because he's going to be a game time decision. So I need to go ahead and look to see if there's someone that I can. I do have Deshaun Watson was a 3rd quarterback that I did get in this league. I'm not excited about that. I'm not proud about that. He was a late pick. And there's nobody else out there. So, you know what? And this is a league where you want to start 2 quarterbacks because it's a point per completion for your quarterbacks. So I'm going to keep my eyes on Justin Herbert. Hopefully he does play. The one thing I am looking at here, I got Drake London, Devontae Adams. I've got Jameson Williams on my bench, and I'm thinking about putting him in there. Okay. I'm talking about Robinson in that trade. Robinson, Ford, and Carr for Stroud. Okay, hold on. All right, hold on a second there, Chandler. Let me go back over to that because I can't find your comment. Traded Carr, Ford, and Robinson for the Ram. Okay, let's see. Okay, so let's talk about this trade again. Okay, Robinson, that trade. Robinson, Ford, and Carr for Stroud. Okay, so you're saying Robinson for the Rams. Okay, all right. So you traded all 3 of them for Stroud. How are you looking? Who are your other running backs, Chandler? I need to know what the rest of your roster looks like because that's a lot to give up for Stroud. Is it a redraft? Is it dynasty? If you're looking at dynasty, okay. Yeah, Carr has been putting up crazy. Now, I don't think it's gonna stay true for the entire season, guys. And me and Rapid Dave, we talked about this last Wednesday during the show. And if you guys don't know, I do late night Saturday nights where we talk about some stuff. Rapid Dave will be live tomorrow about 10 a.m. Central Standard Time for about an hour, talking about your start sits and your last minute guys who are going to play and aren't going to play, right? Your kind of your last minute advice tomorrow morning. And then we both do a live show Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time where we kind of talk about the week that was and look forward to the week that's coming up. I got to know what you got to tell me more about your league, Chandler. And I know you've told us before, but I can't remember, man. But is it dynasty? Is it redraft? What's the rest of your roster look like? Now, again, if you're looking at a dynasty type thing, okay, Stroud's going to be around a lot longer than Carr is, or definitely longer than Robinson, right? Robinson's while the other guys are out. So Jane Daniels or anything Richardson this week. I don't like, and I'm sure that's supposed to be Anthony Richards. I don't like Anthony Richardson, guys. I just don't. Not excited about Jaden Daniels. I gotta take a look, man. Let's take a look here. What has Let me look at some matchups here. Let's look at some stuff. All right, Jane Daniels so far this year. They're playing Cincinnati. Jane got you now. I'm looking here. He got you week 1, 184 yards. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, 16 rushes for 88 yards. Last week, 10 rushes for 44 yards, 226 yards passing. So you're looking pretty decent there. Anthony Richardson hasn't done much. Let me look at. I'm pulling up Richardson right now so I can look at his numbers so far for the year. 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception week 1, 6 rushes for 56 yards and a touchdown last week. And they're playing Chicago, and Chicago's a tough defense. I'm going Jane Daniels. Yeah, I'm going. I'm going Jane Daniels. Yeah, I'm not sold on guy. We saw 4 games out of Anthony Richardson last year, and everybody was like, "This guy is going to be great," and I was like, "Let's pump the brakes. We haven't seen enough of him." And he had a rough week last week with the 3 picks. He's going up against Chicago defense. I don't like the Chicago offense, but I like the Chicago defense. The only reason why the Bears are even close to being in the games right now is because of that defense. That is one thing that Matt Eberflus has done well with Chicago is that defense. That offense is a hot mess. I'm staying away from the Chicago offense, but I'm all about the Chicago defense. And I don't know that I necessarily want to go pick up the Chicago defense because they're going to spend a lot of time on the field. But if I've got Anthony Richardson going up against Chicago defense or Jane Daniels, I'm going Jane Daniels. Daniels has had a better year so far this year too, guys. Let's just not overlook that. Cincinnati is what Cincinnati is. You're not sure what you're getting with Cincinnati, right? I think Daniels is getting crushed on Monday night by the Bengals. Richardson has a better match. He does not have a better matchup, Michael. The Chicago defense is legit. They are. I'm going with Jane Daniels. That's where I'm leaning with this. So again, and that's based off the Chicago defense playing great so far this year. And the Bengals they struggle early in the year. The Bengals could be up, and you could see a lot of Jane Daniels, a lot of him. Yeah, I'm going Jane Daniels. We'll see. I'll throw that one out there for the masses to let me know. That's the yeah. I'm going to start Jane Daniels then. Yeah. I like the matchup better. Again, with Anthony Richardson and the success you've got now that Anthony Richardson has been big plays. If you take those big plays away from him, which the Chicago defense can do, you're not getting anything out of them. I'm probably going to avoid starting. Someone already asked about Pittman earlier, and I was out on Pittman. I can't remember who we chose over Pittman, but let me see if I can go up here and find it. Pittman, Dell, Dobbins, or Akers as far as a flex. I was out on Pittman. Pittman was the first one I was out on, and then Akers, then Dell. I'm starting Dobbins in that situation. But yeah, I don't think Anthony Richardson is what everyone's making him out to be, guys. I really don't. I was down on him before the season started. I really haven't liked what I've seen from him so far this year. I'm going Jayden Daniels in this situation. We'll see. I don't like the Minnesota defense in this situation. I'm looking at other lineups I have, guys. As we're going through this, I got the Minnesota defense in here right now, but I don't want to play them. So I'm definitely going to have to pick up another defense. I like the Chargers defense. So I'm going to go with the Chargers defense over the Minnesota defense with Minnesota playing Houston. And I dropped Richardson and got Baker. I like Baker more than I like Richardson. I 100. Yeah, you're talking about Anthony Richardson having a cannon? He does. But you take those big plays away from him and you ain't getting anything out of him, man. That's what he's been all year is big plays. That's why Alec Pearson's been pretty good. I tried, but I wasn't high in the waiver priority thing. Yeah. Baker's going to put up a bunch of numbers for you. He had a rough week last week against Detroit, but Detroit's a really good defense, a lot better than they were last year. Detroit should have blown them out as they had over 500 yards of offense. They had a ton of turnovers last week, which is uncharacteristic for that Detroit offense. But even in a week where Baker had an off week, he still had a pretty decent week last week against Detroit. I like Baker more than I like Anthony Richardson. At the end of the season, Baker Mayfield will be higher than Anthony Richardson is. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. Call me George Zimmerman. I guarantee it. The suit guy, the clothier. I don't know if that's everywhere, but that's here in Texas. He's this guy who does sell suits, and he tells you you're going to love the way you look. I guarantee it. Yeah, but I think Baker was another guy that went into the season underrated and was a guy that you were able to draft really late or just pick up on waiver priority. I mean, as I'm looking at it right now, because I think I talked about it earlier, and let me just make sure that I had the number right. He's available in 23% of leagues right now in Yahoo right now. He's only rostered in 77% of Yahoo leagues right now. He's still available in 23% of leagues. So if you're in a Yahoo league, you might look to see if he's still there, because he's still there. Pretty much one out of every 4 leagues, he's still sitting there. But yeah, Baker's a guy that I like Baker. Off waiver, yeah. I want to say it was a couple weeks ago when I was doing my waiver wire targets. Baker was still available in 60% of your leagues. Now his numbers are kind of a little bit inflated right now because he had a huge week 1 and an okay week 2. But as the season goes on, it will stabilize. He's going to have a good year this year. He's got Mike Evans that he's throwing to. So, but yeah, no, I'm definitely going with Baker over Anthony Richardson. Off wait, yeah, and a lot of people got him off waivers. It's Baker's a guy who always under the radar, right? Man, how y'all got all these good QBs on waivers? I only got it's it's you got some leagues. I mean, but that also depends on the leagues that you're into, right? There's some leagues that you go out there and you can't find anybody. And then you got some that you go into. You got Brissett. Oh man, yeah, and Brissett are his days numbered? He was benched this last week. Drake May came in and played as they were just getting curb stomped. I don't think we've got anything out there as far as what that situation is going to look like going forward. I mean, it was only 4:24 left in the game before he came in there. Um, let's see here. This is yeah, and he said he'll discuss what they're going to do further with the staff later. Uh, it was 4 of 8 for 22 yards, 2 rushing attempts for 12 yards. So, thoughts on Bryce Young getting benched? If you're in a dynasty league, hold on to Bryce Young. If you're in a dynasty league, hold on to Bryce Young. If you're in a redraft league, you don't have him, right? I think the only reason why you would have Bryce Young is if you're in a uh, a, a dynasty league. I'm not getting rid of him if I had him in. I don't have him in my dynasty leagues, but if I did, I'm not getting rid of him. There's a ton of interest out there for Bryce Young from other teams. Other teams are looking at picking him up, trying to trade for him. Um, so dynasty is you keep your players. Majority of your roster you keep every season. Just depending on how the dynasty is done. Some of them do them off of points. Mostly like point system. Some of them do salary caps. So there's different types of dynasty leagues out there. You're redrafting all your players every year. Yes, Bryce Young needs a new team. Bryce Young needs a new team. Because Carolina is just they're not good. He doesn't have anything around him. Um, ooh, we'll talk about that here in a second. But Bryce Young, so redrafts, who cares, right? Um, he's probably not going to find himself on a team and starting this year. I mean, maybe like if like a Miami were to trade for him, right? But then how long would he play before Tua comes back? If Tua does come back, Tua's put on the IR. Um, but the dynasty leagues, you want to see where he ends up because he might end up in a good situation, and you might see some more out of him. So maybe like a Geno Smith type, Sam Darnold this year. Uh, Bryce Young needs to go to the Cowboys. Well, that's not happening. They just gave Dak the freaking moon. So, and if he goes there, he ain't playing. Uh, it, here's the thing with when you're talking quarterbacks and being paid, it's just who last guy paid is the highest paid guy. It won't be long before Dak isn't the highest paid player in the league. So, all right, starting Brian Robinson or Rashid Shaheed flex 12 man. Is it PPR? I need to know if it's PPR, Logan. Let's get all the information. PPR, half PPR, standard. What are we looking at? I like Rashid Shaheed. Um, I like the New Orleans Saints. That offense has been just playing lights out. Helps if I spell it right. So let's go ahead. I mean, I pulled this up a few times today and talked about it, but we'll pull it up every time we need to, right? Um, Rashid Shaheed on the year, week 1, 3 catches, 73 yards and a touchdown. Week 2, 4 catches, 96 yards, a touchdown. Also had 3 rushes for 13 yards. You're going up against Philly that gives up a lot in the pass. As far as wide receivers, it's a number 2 matchup for wide receivers, which is good. Um, I think Saints are going to air the ball out. That being said, I like Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson on the year has done you well. 40 yards and a touchdown, 3 catches for 49 yards week 1 last week. 133 yards, 1 catch for 3 yards. Let's see here. Yes, full PPR. Full PPR. Cincinnati. I like the matchup. Um, you're not going to get a much PPR wise, right, out of Brian Robinson. He's mostly your rushing. Right. He had 4 targets week 1, 3 targets week 2. When he had 3 catches, he had 49 yards, so that's pretty good. He only had 1 catch last week for 3 yards. Um, Man, that's a tough one. It really is. And the other thing you're going to get with Shaheed, if your league has it, you're probably going to get a 40+ yard reception with Shaheed. So if you get bonus points for that, that definitely leans towards Shaheed, right? All this being said, I kind of want to lean towards Brian Robinson. Um, they do want to run the ball a lot, take pressure off Jayden Daniels to let him to be able to do some things, right? Um, Eckler's not taking a ton of carries away from him. Eckler had a good week last week. He had 85 yards, total yards. The receiver, it's kind of easy to take a receiver out. PPR, he might get the checkdowns, right? I mean, he hasn't shown to get a ton of action. 4 targets and 3 targets in your 2 weeks, right? Um, I think Eckler is getting a little bit more. Let's kind of look at. I haven't really seen what Austin Eckler has done much this year, guys. I haven't really paid attention to him. He had 4 targets and 3 targets. He's not getting a ton of action there. It's mostly in the pass game though. For Eckler, 52 yards receiving in week 1, 47 yards in receiving week 2. Brian Robinson is getting a majority of the carries there. He is going to be your goal line. Man, that's a tough one. I'm going to ride the hot hand and go with Shaheed. And I want to revisit that one and really make sure, see what I did, how I did on this one. My gut's telling me Shaheed. My gut is really telling me Shaheed. I'm kind of going with my gut on this one. I think you could get in a situation with Washington where they have to pass the ball a little bit more, and kind of go away from the run a little bit. Although they don't need to, they really need to keep the run going to take the pressure off of Daniels. They're 16th. Cincinnati's 16th against the run. I kind of want to, let me look at something here real quick, guys. I want to lean towards Shaheed. I really do. Now here's one thing to remember. Stevenson went off against the Bengals. The Patriots went off against the Bengals, honestly. And that was there. How the players look last week, rushing wise. Pacheco had 90 yards last week. Carson Steele had 24 yards. I'm starting to talk myself into Brian Robinson. I started B-Rob back-to-back weeks. Jets put up 17 for me, so I can gamble a little. Won't be surprised. Yeah. That is nice if you got the Jets, right? You're playing with a little bit of house money as they just kind of went off. So let's look at it this way. I think Brian Robinson might be your safer start, but I think Shaheed might have a higher ceiling, right? Um, big plays, possibly big play touchdowns, right? Robinson, a lot of yards. Now, there's the one thing that I will say is they're not giving up the rushing touchdowns. There was no rushing touchdowns last week against the Chiefs and against the Patriots. Let me just double check this. Ramondre did get in the end zone once. So they've given up one rushing touchdown on the year, given up a bunch of yards in the run game, but only one rushing touchdown. So let's factor that in there. Possibly not a touchdown, right? My opponent has Kamara, Gibbs, and CD in 12-man, so I need the play ceiling, I think. Yeah, and I think you've got more of the potential for the touchdown with Shaheed than you do Brian Robinson. So that's so safe play where you'll get some points. Brian Robinson, right, could get you 100 yards rushing, but no touchdowns. So depending on what your points are, if you're getting a point for every 10 yards, you're looking at 10 points. But with Shaheed, more potential for the touchdown, more potential for the big plays, big yards, the PPR aspect of it. So let's go ahead. You know what? Let's live dangerously. I don't want to say dangerously, but let's go with Shaheed this week. I think again the bigger play ceiling, the ceiling. You've got the bigger potential for that. So let's roll with that. Let's roll the dice with that. I think you're going to get a heavy dose of CD. The Cowboys have zero run game. I think the days of asking, "Hey, should I play Zeke or not?" are over. I kind of talked about it a couple weeks ago. As someone was asking me about Zeke, no one asked me about Zeke this last week. Thank God, because I'm out on Zeke. I'm out on any Cowboys running back because they just can't run. I think they're getting like 3 yards a run or something like that. Carr like Shaheed in the moments he's going to get at least 3 catches. We playing him. Yeah. Yeah. Carr does like Shaheed. He really does. And they look for those big plays. And again, like I said, if you're in the league, I've got several leagues where you get extra points for a 40+ yard reception or a 40+ yard play. Doesn't necessarily have to be a reception. Could be a throw, could be a run, whatever it is. So if you do get a bonus for that, that's another thing that will lean you towards playing Shaheed. But yeah, let's go with Shaheed. Let's lock that in and say Shaheed over Brian Robinson. More touchdowns, I think. So, and let me hold on. I don't want to. Let me not. I don't want to misspeak. Okay. Yeah, the Philly gives up a lot of passing. Those should, wide receivers have good games against Philly. Give me Shaheed. Shaheed. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. We're over an hour, guys. I typically only go about an hour. If we got any more questions to get in before I head out for the night, if you wake up in the morning and you need some more help tomorrow about 10 a.m. Central Time, Rapid Dave should be late. Or should be going live on here. That's my partner. If you haven't watched us on Wednesdays when we're both together talking the week that was and the week that's going to be, that's Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We'll be live on here. I come on here late Saturdays, somewhere between 10, 11 o'clock Central Standard Time. Just depends on what I got going on with my Saturday night. Rapid Day's been going live at 10 a.m. Sunday mornings to talk about your last minute start sits, your last minute players that you got to sit. Again, if you're someone who has some vested interest in the Chargers, Justin Herbert's a game time decision. We don't know right now. If he's not playing, I'm sitting Ladd McConkey. I'm not playing Quentin Johnston. I'm sure as heck I'm playing J.K. Dobbins. I'm playing J.K. Dobbins either way, but definitely hammering J.K. Dobbins if Herbert's out and you're rolling with Easton Stick back there at quarterback. We know that's not good, and they're going to have to run the ball a lot. So, but if we got anything else, guys, let me know before I get out of here. I haven't even done my pick'ems for this week yet. I got to do my pick'ems. I got a couple other rosters that I got to finalize before everything, and I got to get some sleep at some point in time today, right? But yeah, Rapid Dave will be here tomorrow morning. We'll both be live Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll be back next Saturday. Keep an eye on the shorts. We put a lot of stuff out there on shorts. I do my waiver wire videos on the shorts. I break it down by position typically, do a few positions every week. Thank you, Logan. I appreciate you coming in here. Michael, thank you for coming in here. Chandler, thank you for coming in here. Jonathan, UNLV, anybody else that I missed. Thank you guys all for coming in here. It's been a blast. It's been fun, guys. Um, good luck. Hopefully we get a lot of wins. A lot of wins this week, guys. Let's cash them. Hey, as always, I'm Alan. I'll talk to you guys later. Deuces.